there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder, here with a follow-up video to yesterday's video about how I'm branching out to other games, and hopefully that will revive the spark for doing deck tech type videos on this channel. So today I'm going to be showing the deck that I'm playing in Riftbound. Riftbound, if you haven't tried it out, I highly encourage you to pick up at least a starter deck and go to your local game store and see how well you like this. If you're a Magic player, especially if you come from like a standard or a draft competitive background, I think you're going to love Riftbound. And I give a plethora of reasons why I've moved away from Magic. I think that between the commanderification of Magic and the overwhaling of the set designs just being geared towards people that really don't really care about the standard scene or brewing decks, or again, I feel like a broken record if I go down this route talking about all my problems I'm having with Magic, and it's not just me. You see a lot of the pro scene actually migrating over to Riftbound. So I'm really excited for Riftbound. I'm hoping they can manage this game properly. I think there is legs for sure to this game. It is fun. It's got a nice little tempo feel to it. There is lots of room for brewing decks, which of course, as a rogue deck builder, that is one of the criteria for me wanting to play the game. So without further ado, I'm not going to talk too much about this. I'm just going to go right into deck tech. This is Jinx. Now, Jinx is the first deck I actually picked up, but I'm actually sticking to it. I've played a few other decks for Riftbound. One of the problems of Riftbound is so expensive to switch between decks right now, and that will be something that is going to be addressed in the future. I've already looked at the spoilers from the next set, and they're actually reprinting things in more collector versions of cards, but inevitably that will actually bring down the prices of the normal versions of cards to where I think they'll be something that people will be able to pick up. So I would just give this game some patience with the price. That will come down. It's very hot right now. I don't even think that Riftbound or Riot Games anticipated this much of the this is kind of weird. I think that they targeted Commander players. They think that they were going to make this like really good multiplayer game. It's the first game that actually tried to go after what was the tried, tested, and true now format in Magic, which is Commander. And instead, they got like all the competitive players moving over. And I think that actually the formats actually work really well. You can actually play a very similar deck that's geared for 1 versus 1 in like the multiplayer format, and there's a lot of mix and matching even between like the team formats. Anyway, this isn't a video about how Riftbound works. This is a deck tech video. Kevin, stick on track here. So anyway, let's get into Jinx. Jinx is the first deck that I actually picked up and played, and Jinx has a very interesting little ability of at your beginning phase, you draw a card if you have fewer than 1 or fewer cards in your hand. So that's kind of what I was focusing on with this deck, was to try and utilize that sort of effect, because this is a deck that is very similar to a kind of a blue tempo shell, but also utilizing your graveyard as a resource. So I'm thinking like Threshold in Magic, or typically like, I don't know, it feels really like a blue-black tempo list, but not really, because we don't have a lot of like ways of actually removing our opponent's creatures. We're not even going to focus on that. So that is one of the advantages to both these colors. Chaos and Fury are really good with interacting with your opponents. But we're actually going to go away from that and just, I guess I would compare it to like a blue tempo, where you're just disrupting your opponent's game plan and trying to get through little bits of in this case, you're scoring points for controlling battlefields, not really doing damage. But that's the similar feel of what this deck's going for. So you just want to take over the game before your opponent can establish some sort of controller mid-range, and it does very well against other aggro decks too, because you're able to bounce back or just be able to move between battlegrounds a lot more efficient than your opponent's aggro decks are doing so. So anyway, so Jinx Loose Cannon just has the ability at the start of the beginning phase. You draw a card, and we'll actually load it up here. So the start of the beginning phase, draw 1 card if you have fewer of the cards in your hand. So this is arguably the worst ability in all of Riftbound. I think that Jinx is going to get better and better as you get more cards that are printed with utilizing your trash, discarding cards, and just emptying your hand. Right now, it is kind of hard to empty your hand and make Jinx actually efficient. But I'm telling you, this is a sleeper leader for sets to come. It just needs a bigger card pool before we're going to actually see this ability. So there is another leader called Annie that just refreshes 2 runes at your end phase, which is definitely like a better replacement for even this shell. But I am going to continue to try to brew specifically Jinx. I think that Annie, there's better ways to build it where you're not really focused on getting your hand size down or filling up your graveyard. They're both using the same combo, which we'll talk about. But I think Jinx in the long term will definitely deserve a second look over Annie of trying to build this sort of shell. So if you want to run Annie, you can actually just basically run this exact same list that I'm showing. There would be a few cards like Scrap Heaps that I don't think you'd run in Annie. And you won't be so focused on actually filling up your graveyard. So there are some other like disruptive spells that you'll run instead of more of the trying to flit out your board or disrupt, like return back your own cards back to your battlefield. So anyway, let's get on to the deck list. What we're going to do is we're just going to run a 7-5 split of Fury and Chaos. We do need both for power for this deck. And again, I'm not going to go over exactly how to play Riftbound. There are plenty of other videos out there. If you are interested, though, go check out those videos and come back and see what I've been doing at this. So the battlefields we're going to choose for this particular deck is going to be the Zon Warrens. The Zon Warrens is whenever you conquer here, discard one card, then draw one card. This is definitely the best battlefield for this deck because it does everything we want. It discards a card, we draw cards, we fill up our graveyard, and it's exactly what this deck wants. And then the other battlefield we are going to run that is our second choice is going to be the Arena's Greatest. This is just any aggro-based shell. At the start of each player's beginning phase, that player starts with a point. So basically you just have to get to 7 rather than 8 with this deck. And it's very good versus like the control shells or the mid-range shells because you're going to be able to race that last point before your opponent can. And then the other one we're going to run this is the Candlelight Sanctum. And this is because we're going to run the Nocturne combo. So I don't know why I haven't seen a lot of deck lists that are trying to utilize Jinx with this. Typically this is like a Teemo type card or strategy, but I think it works very well in Jinx because we can actually just trash away that combo if we don't end up cheating it out. And we'll explain that here as I go through the deck list. So our champion is going to be Jinx. This is another reason why Jinx is quite unpopular because this is considered one of the weakest champions in the game. Both Jinx, the purple one and the red one, just don't have enough support right now. And I'm telling you, when these cards get more cards that actually synergize with them, they're both going to get better. So the purple version just says whenever you discard a card, it gets +1 attack and readies, which is a pretty interesting ability. And this one is just going to be a Assault 2, so whenever it's attacker, it gets +2, and it has the ability to get Accelerate, which is haste in Riftbound. But when you play this card, you have to discard 2 cards. So that's why people consider this like a weak card for how much cost it has to. Like, I see what they're trying to do because you want to utilize Jinx's ability of drawing cards, but just having to discard 2 cards is a huge cost. With very few cards now that synergize with this card, I think there are 2 basically at the moment that actually work off of being discarded, and one of them actually has a power cost associated to it, so paying 2 power on the same turn is quite the cost. However, there is an awesome on the draw, or not on the draw, on second turn, where Jinx is very, very strong with being able to get out. A few games has been able to get out both of the cards that wanted to be discarded and Jinx on turn number 1 if you're able to channel all 3 of your runes. So again, this card does have, it probably arguably is the worst card in the deck, but you do have to choose a champion, and this is just above and beyond better than the other champion, in my opinion. On to the list. So let's just go down like the 1-drops first, and then we'll talk about all the combos. We'll just go down the list of what I'm running. So Stack Deck. This is arguably the best card in Riftbound at the moment. So you just look at the top 3 cards, your main deck, put 1 in your hand, recycle the rest. For 1 cost, this is just super cheap to set up your hand. You get a card in your graveyard for the synergies that want cards in your graveyard, or I guess your trash bin. I don't know what they call it in Riftbound. But this is just your perfect kind of cycling card and setting up your deck. We are running Cleave. This card is also just an insane card, +3 to an attacker, or you give an Assault 3. It turns on the Legion ability. It is an action you can play to buff up your cards if your opponent has played like a defensive spell. And it's just a quick way to score a point and then get a card in the graveyard. It's exactly what Jinx does. And it's not a huge cost. Like, you don't really worry about going down to 1 card. If you can actually get down to 1 card with Jinx, that's actually a good thing. You'll start to draw 2 cards per turn rather than 1. And so Cleave is just a very efficient way to make your little guys get a little bit bigger and also make your big guys bigger. And there, again, there's some combos in this deck that are worthwhile talking about. Scrap Heap. So Scrap Heap is when this is played, discarded, or killed, you draw a card. So in this deck, it's discarding that we want to play this around. And I actually have taken out one of the combos with this, which is Chemtech Enforcers, which is when you play the card, discard a card. Because again, it was just that Chemtech Enforcers is kind of we'll show that card a bit here, but it's kind of weak for even what it does. And like, if you have to actually get rid of a relevant card, if you don't have a Scrap Heap or the other card that wants to be discarded, it feels bad. But Scrap Heap, I think that just Jinx alone, being your champion, makes this viable, and that's you'll end up casting your Jinx quite often if you do have a Scrap Heap in hand, just as a way to, you negate that little discard 2 card. For 3 and a power, it's not a bad attacker with being 4 with Assault 2. It's another great way to get Accelerate on board if you need to, if you have the Scrap Heaps to discard. And it does have synergy with this Traveling Merchant. So Traveling Merchant is when I move, discard 1 card, then draw a card. So the Scrap Heap is going to replace itself, go in the bin, and do everything you basically want. So Traveling Merchant is just to get in there for your early points by taking uncontested battlefields. It's also good to hook up like a Cleave to take a free battlefield. And then you get to discard and then draw, fill up your graveyard, and that's exactly what you want to do. We're going to talk about Vi here at the very end because Vi is actually the combo piece for this. So the other cards too is like Flash. Flash is super good with a lot of cards in this deck, so it moves back your Traveling Merchants. Because what you want to be doing with this deck is you want to be moving your early creatures into battlefields, but you don't want them to stay there. You want to actually move them out because it's just a wasted card if they end up getting killed for a battlefield. So oftentimes you're just going to let your opponent have like uncontested battlefields. So you'll move them in, score the point, and then move them out with like cards like Flash. So Flash is definitely good to basically protect your creatures and give them another go. Later on, it just is a reaction. You can move up to 2 friendly units to the base. So very, very good card. We are running 2. I'm trying to think if we go up to 3. Like if you are looking for an ultra budget list, if you actually cut the Flashes out, you save like $60 right there. So I think it has a price up at the top here. If they say it's I guess we got to go over into dollars, but 90 euros is what this would cost. And if you actually get rid of the Flashes, that goes down quite significantly. There's nothing that's very expensive in this deck after the Flash. And the reason Flashes are expensive, they should go down because they're going to be a promo coming up here, is they're only found in the Proving Grounds, which were actually underprinted. So then another card that is, we'll talk about the Ride the Wind combo, but this is just move a friendly unit and ready it. This is one of the key pieces of the deck, and we'll get back to this one. So Mystic Poro. So this one has a combo here, and this is why we're running the Battleground that says when you take over a battleground, you actually get to look at the top 2. We actually even go over that battleground here. I think I might have skipped it here with the Candlelight Signal. Yeah, we did talk about it. So you look at the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may recycle one or both of them and put them back in any order. The Mystic Poro does a very similar thing. When you play me, look at the top card of your main deck. You may recycle it. And so this is just helping you dig for what you want, but there is a combo in here that is Nocturne. So Nocturne is super strong with our Battlefield, Mystic Poro, and the stacked deck. So this says if when you look at cards from the top of your deck, and you don't draw them and see me, you may play me for a free cost. So if that's perfect for this deck with the Battlefield and the Nocturne, the stack deck, because the stack deck is putting one in your hand. So it's not actually drawing. So you're looking at the top 3 cards, you're putting one in your hand. You can actually put one in your hand and then actually play the Nocturne. So it works really well with that, and it does work with the Mystic Poro. So if there are other deck manipulations in the future, this is going to get better and better. Nocturne's just, it's basically you're just thinking this is a card you're paying for a power rune. You never want to hard cast this. The ganking is kind of nice for it, but it's not that relevant either. And then if you don't actually find it, like if you have to draw it, that's where it comes in handy with like Jinx and other Traveling Merchants and stuff. You just ditch it. You don't have to worry about it in your hand. It's not worth casting for 4 and a power rune. And so other decks that try to use this Nocturne, I think they oftentimes get stuck with it if they don't find the combo of actually playing it. I think Jinx actually utilizes this better than any deck at the moment. So then we get on to some of the other good cards is Fight or Flight. This is just move a unit from the battlefield to its base. Again, we're going to protect our cards that are basically on a battlefield that we don't just want to get kind of taken for free, and we move it back to the base, and it gives them another day to take over another battlefield. And fill up our graveyard the same. We're going to run Flame Chompers. So when more of these type of cards are printed, I think this deck is much better. This says when you discard me, you can pay a power, and then you can play. So very, very good card, just a 3 for 3, but you're going to end up using just a power for this. You never want to hard cast this. Just Of course, this is going to be pitched and played that way. And probably one of the best cards in the deck is a Noxious Hopeful. This has Legion, and you reduce the cost by 2. Legion just specifies if you cast another card this turn, you can just then now cast this for 2. Again, this deck is all about flooding the board. So between Nocturnes being cheated out, with Flame Chompers being cheated out, with the Noxious Hopeful being cheated out, you're gonna fill your board up quick to score those early points. And then you're probably going to try to utilize these. Well, you're not going to probably. You're going to want to finish off the game with one of these, what we call finishers in this deck. So we're going to run 2 Rasha the Sunderers. So this is just reduced by every card in the trash. So like you want to be just casting this for 1 rune, and it's very easy, 1 power rune. And it's very easy to get this combo on board where you're costing it for nothing. This card can actually protect your battlefields too. You can play it directly on a battlefield if you control it. And yeah, I mean, the name of the game of this deck is just filling up the trash as efficiently as possible. And then, as I stated, one of the combos with Cleave is Darius. So Darius says when you play your second card in a turn, give me +2. So it ends up being 7, and with Cleave it's and ready. So it ends up being 10. So that's the combo in this deck is Darius Cleave. So you play Darius, you cleave Darius, Darius becomes ready, is a 10 attacking power. You move it to a battlefield, take over the battlefield, and then you play a Ride the Wind and take it over to another battlefield. And oftentimes that will be enough. Like the 10 power is enough because they heal after every interaction. So you move it over, kill, move it back over, and you just win the game. Because this deck is easy to get up to 7. What you have to try to find is a way to get that last point. And you can get that last point in 2 ways in Riftbound, either by controlling a battlefield at the start of your turn or by conquering both battlefields in a turn. And so controlling a battlefield at the start of the turn is very rough with this deck. We are not a deck that wants to throw down a big creature and protect it. So we're going to try to do that, take 2 over in the same turn, and Darius is one of the best way to do it. And going back to Vi is basically the whole strategy for this game. So this has the ability of recycling a one from your trash to give +1. So this is when we build up a huge trash. What you're going to do is you're going to recycle everything from your trash onto Vi. Then you are going to move Vi to the first battlefield. And then, since it has ganking, you can... There are a number of ways actually to do this with the ganking ability, but it's not that relevant because a lot of the cards do it for you. So you're going to move Vi to the first battlefield, and then you're going to Ride the Wind and move it to another battlefield and just hopefully win the game at that point. So pretty like universal combo that a lot of I mean the anti decks are running. I mean, this is the whole point to red purple is this combo is super strong, and it's going to win you the majority of your games. So it's all about setting up and planning and making sure that you actually can get in. You don't want to get disrupted. There are a lot of like kill spells. They can just mess this up with the combo. So you definitely want to plan this out to where you won't run into some sort of trap and just lose the game outright by Vi being dealt with. But yeah, super strong combo with Ride the Wind. So we do have a sideboard in, and the sideboard is still something I'm working on because there's a lot of different things you can do. There's like kill gear cards you can run. Let's see, where is our sideboard in this? I can't even find the sideboard that I've run here. So the sideboard is going to be 3 gusts. So let's see if we can open it here in the deck builder, and I can actually see the sideboard. And yeah, I guess it's not loading properly. So sideboard should be 3 gusts. And Gust is just a 1 cost spell that returns something that's 3 or less back to the hand. And I apologize. I'll have to figure out how to navigate this list here because it's not showing the sideboard. And the other one is just going to be a card called Rebuke that's 2 and then costs 2 chaos powers to just return a card to its hand. So that's basically, those will come in against, first of all, Gust will come in against the aggro-based strategies where you can just actually disrupt them from actually getting a point. So they try to move in, you just Gust it back, and then they don't score that point, and it's just a race at that point who can get to the 8 points quicker. And the rebukes are for all the like obnoxious decks that try to like stick on a battlefield and just remain there. And then like it is rough. I mean, Darius and Vi can actually do a good job of taking those battlefields back, but oftentimes you do need like a kind of trick up your sleeve to get rid of those obnoxious cards, and Rebuke does the best at doing that. And there are some other, like, I think I just have 2 Chemtech Enforcers. So Chemtech Enforcer is just when you play me, discard a card, and they're just kind of a hold, and they do come in versus, there are a couple matchups where you don't want to really go on this, like, Nocturne play, and so, like, you can actually just get rid of some Mystic Poros or something and bring in the Chemtechs if you just want, like, some more aggressive cards to come out. And that's basically like Chemtech Enforcer. I wish they'd do a different replacement to that card that maybe would, like, discard a card, draw a card or something, because just discarding a card for a 2-drop is super, super weak. And even like Jinx that allows you to draw cards back, it's still too much of a liability in my opinion. So that's a card that I have gotten rid of in this list. Again, and it's definitely something that's still fine. You can play, and it still has some combos like the Flame Chompers. But I think just having Jinx in the list, like just this one of Jinx, is everything you need to get these Flame Chompers on board. And I just stated, like, on your first turn, if you're going second with Jinx and you happen to channel the 3 Fury runes, you can actually go a turn 1 Jinx and then discard 2 Flame Chompers and pay for them all, because you have the 3 to pay for the cost, and then the 3 to channel, or not to channel, to power, and then you'll have 4, a 3, and a 3 on board on your first turn, which then you'll usually end up scoring like 4 or 5 points before your opponents can actually deal with that, and you've basically set yourself up, because really this deck just wants to get to 6, and once you get to 6 points, you're going to try to get those last 2 points in the same turn with, like, the Darius. And same thing, like, if you see a Jinx hand with, like, double, where'd the card go, the scrap heaps, it's not a bad play either, just to go, Jinx, throw away the scrap heaps. The problem with this, though, is you don't want to spend, like, an early power rune, but in this case, it's definitely worthwhile to do so, because you won't be needing to do many things in the next few turns, because Jinx is just super strong early as well. 4, and it solves for 2. You're going to be able to take over the battlefields, and then Jinx is a great card, too, to flashback, and flashback or flight back. And flight or flight's a neat card too, because you can move any unit from a battlefield back to its base. It's another good thing against other aggro strategies, because then they try to move in. It does cost them they have to exhaust the card to actually move into the battlefield, and if you move it back to their base, then they can't move back in. They've already used the tap ability for the turn. So anyway, that's basically my Jinx, my iteration of a Jinx, kind of Nocturne Jinx tempo based strategy. And yeah, we're going to try some other things out. Like, again, the only thing that's really holding me back too much from Riftbound is the cost. I just don't want to be spending like 40, 50 bucks on cards. And most of these other champions require a bunch of them, like Kaisa and some of the other tier decks, like Master Yi. I mean, a lot of the cards are from the pre-constructed deck, and they're very pricey at this point. So once the cost comes down, we'll try some other decks out and see what we can come up with. Like, there are a lot of cards that are really cool, like brew cards in the future. I think there's a card that allows you to return a gear back to your hand, and I'm thinking, man, that'd be a really good little draw outlet with Scrap Heap in the future. Is going some sort of like green-blue control shell of, or blue. Blue-purple control shell of just utilizing that as like your, basically your free draw card per turn, or I guess you just cast it for 2. There's Scrap Heap, which is very interesting too, because there is a card that just like kills gear as like a cost, and Scrap Heap's perfect for that. So again, the Riftbound does seem a little bit limited for what you can do, because the card pool isn't that deep. But in the future, like they've already set the groundwork for it. We're getting a new card type in the next set with equipments, and it's going to have more depth. Like, I think there's a lot of room with like runes in the future too. They could do some interesting things with runes, and it'll be definitely very interesting to see where this game goes in the future. So again, I highly encourage you, if you haven't picked up Riftbound, to give it a shot. And we're going to stick with it. Like, we have some skirmish events going up. I don't know if we're going to go to any like major tournaments. That's kind of one piece that we're focused on at the moment. So I'll be looking forward to some one piece deck techs. I'm going to try to do a clown deck tech coming up here. And I haven't given up Magic. As time goes on, if I can get this channel kind of re-going, then maybe we'll refocus on like Standard or Pioneer. Again, I want Magic, I want Wizards to take that initiative to revive their own formats before I want to really invest time and energy into, cultivating a Magic scene here locally, or really trying to get back into something that I think that Wizard Coast isn't really like doing its due diligence of their own game. So that's where I kind of stand with it. as I stated in my other video, I am basically just a trading card game player in general. Like I don't have any like super allegiance towards Magic, so it's kind of nice to have some other alternatives right now that are definitely worthwhile to sink some time and energy and I'm having fun with them. So hope you join me too and check out these different alternate games. And like I'm looking forward to One Piece and Gundam. I think that those games also have a lot of legs. And if you come from a Magic background, it's very easy to get into these games as well. As always, this has been Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.